raw, relevant, that's just it. Yeah, I've been by the days since I was legit. Represent, that's legit. Ask your mama about it. Coldest story ever told. When the storm had hit my home, I was out there on the road, I ain't had nowhere to go. They used to turn their nose at me, and they didn't, I suppose. This the life I chose, every day, man, it's a show.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Y'all seen their pause because I was like leaning in, and I'm on my phone today, so I don't even know. I hope y'all don't hear that echo because I could hear it out somewhere else. But hey, y'all, welcome to Authentic Ears. We are back here again to celebrate Black History. But I'm gonna let Jasmine tell you, she don't celebrate Black History just 1 month. She. Jasmine, what did you say last week when we was ending the show?
I'm Black 24/8.
24/8.
Mm-hmm. So not just February. 24/8. We do this all year round.
and the crazy thing, that's kind of how we was raised with our grandmother. Is we kind of celebrated it. She talked about go to doing some evening. Go ahead and do some evening. You finna have a Black History lesson that day about your whatever you had going on. So, but hey, we got a special guest here, JD, Joseph, Socrates. I don't even know what to call him. So if y'all hear me calling different names, I promise you, I'm not talking to somebody in my head. I'm talking to this guy right here. Hey, JD, welcome to the show. Thank you for
welcome. What's up, family? How y'all doing? Hey, how y'all living? Cam, Sterling, Jay, Kenya. How y'all being though?
Good. Look, I'm actually out right now at Grapevine, so I'm doing a little something. And Sterling's been out because he's been working. But Sterling, I seen you last night. You was strolling. You was doing your little thing. You had some hops on you. Where was you at? Was you at a community center?
It's called Liberty Middle School here in Killeen. That's one of my biggest initiatives, being 5 biggest stigmas, getting back to the community. So last night they had the end of the month Black History celebration, which was very good. The young kids came out there. They did a couple African dances. They was able to do some type of modeling show where they model with some type of African garbs. Then they had the choir to sing from the middle school, and then they had each representation from each D9. They had AKAs, they had alphas, omegas, sigmas, zetas. Out there last night, stepping and strolling, basically showed that the youth, there is positivity in going to college, and you can't be part of Black Greek organizations that we're really about. So last night was real good. It was a pretty good turnout.
So do you think, as far as the Black Greek organizations, do you think a lot of times they're frowned upon? Because you hear a lot about hazing and things like that. My daughter is an AKA. She crossed over last year. She attends UAPB. Check out my page, y'all. She made the newspaper. Not just her, but the whole organization. They went out and did some initiatives out there, and she also just did a social work initiative. So do you think there's a lot of stigma on Divine Nine? I didn't go to traditional college, so I never, pledged or anything like that.
Yeah, there's like a small black cloud over Divine Nine when it comes to Greek organizations, and I feel it's like that because of how things has transitioned over the years. The generations that's coming into the D9s, they're not really understanding why they're part of Divine Nine. A lot of these people that are part of Divine Nine are just saying, I want to do it because I want to be part of something. But it's more than just being part of Divine Nine and wearing those Greek letters. You actually got to give back and understand your purpose behind whatever Greek organization you decide. It don't have to be actually a Divine Nine. You can join any Greek organization. It's just understanding your purpose and what you can give back to that Greek organization. I will say, far as hazing go, there is, a black cloud over hazing when it comes to Divine Nine, and I'm pretty sure there's still some hazing depending on what region that you join. So there are different regions when it comes to the Greek organizations, but it's not tolerated. If you are being hazed under the Black Greek D9 organization, you should be, as a Black person, saying, "Hey, we've been through this 400 plus years ago. Why should I have to go through, somebody putting their hands on me just to be part of an organization?" So I will say, it's an individual thing. It shouldn't be forced on you. It shouldn't be something that you say, "I'm just going to do it just to do it." Or it shouldn't be something where you join a chapter just for numbers. And I see that a lot also. A lot of people join chapters just to get numbers up. I'd rather have 3 good brothers instead of 300 bad brothers. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, the Greek organization has been great for me. It's been a great positive influence in my life. And I'll say Phi Beta Sigma is everything. It's blue and white for me, baby. It ain't nothing else. I love it, man. I love it.
Look, you and Cam rep it all the time, but Cam, you Greek too, Divine Now. What do you think about that and the initiatives that they had? I know you weren't there last night because you out traveling, working like we always doing. But what do you have to say about, the Greek organizations, and how do you feel about it, and how can you push it more towards our young kids going to HBCUs and joining those organizations and not being deterred or scared away from because of what they may have heard?
Yeah, well, I think Sterling hit a lot of the things, but first of all, I think it's understanding your why. You know what I'm saying? Why am I doing this? First of all, then once you go out there, it's recommended by me is to go out and do your research. You know what I'm saying? You go out, and if you have an interest in the organization, if you have interest in anything and you're passionate about it, you want to go out there and get on the websites and see what information that they have available. Go out there and do your deep dive and find out as much as about that organization as you can. Then you want to, find a person that's a member of that organization and then ask them questions and things of that nature. Go out and attend some of their events, see what they do in the community and things of that nature. And then I feel you wouldn't have to so much worry about what people say because you've done your own research. Then you go out and see what they do in the community. And then if you feel like that's something that you want to be a part of, then you inquire about when they're going to have their interest meetings and things of that nature. And then you go out there and then just try to see if see if you want to be a member of it. But also in reference to what you're saying with the HBCUs, I never went to an HBCU. So I can't say like a lot about them. I think when I first crossed over to Phi Beta Sigma, I went to a state conference. We had a state conference at Prairie View A&M. And that was really my first time being actually on a HBCU campus, and it made me feel outside of going to I'm from Alabama, so outside of going to the Magic City Classic, which is our big thing when Alabama A&M play Alabama State, you know what I'm saying? I've been to a couple of those games, but by me, I joined the military, as soon as I got off, and I never really, was around the HBCU campus, but it made me wish that it may be something to be around my people, being educated by learning an education that's about my people instead of, so I could try to do a brain dump of all these stuff that I learned in school, because, you learn to meet the Christopher Columbuses and all that stuff that's really kind of irrelevant, I feel, to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I really don't care about no Christopher Columbus, just being honest. But I just wish that I probably would have had that experience. I think sometimes some of the HBUs kind of get shunned on because of the funding, the funding at the Hella Babel. And then sometimes you hear rumors about, the misuse of resources and things that they do have. But I just think, man, how our organizations don't get better if we don't invest in them. You know what I'm saying? If we don't encourage people to go out there, go to them instead of complaining about it, it's easy to complain, but when you go out there and put in the work and try to make the change, I think that's the only thing you can really control on it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to change it up because I know, JD, I told you I wanted to start with you, and we was going to, talk about the House Bill 1020 that's down there in Jackson, Mississippi. But Cam, you mentioned about going when you was actually there on that campus. And sometimes you would, I should have went there, because you get to learn about the history of yourself. let's talk about critical race theory. If y'all watch the news, it's been all on the news. Jasmine, you laughing. They are looking to take that out of the schools being taught K through 12. And I don't know where I've seen it, but they're like blocking some stuff at some colleges as well about that being taught. And critical race theories, it is alleged, or they're saying that it is abolishing that all white people from being oppressed while classifying all Black people as hopeless, oppressed victims. Jasmine, let's start with you. What do you think about critical race theory and taking it out the school?
I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but I'm not upset that they are taking it out of the school, because I think it's important that we learn about our own history from us sometimes, because that's exactly what it is. History is his story. It's not always necessarily ours. And I think it's important that we also learn and teach our children, that. And then I'm going to kind of go back, because it kind of goes back to segregation, when we were kind of protesting and asking to be a part of something that they didn't want us to be a part of. I feel like we could have left it at that, because before segregation, we did have our own things. We had the Black Wall Street. We had our own communities and own banks and things like that. And then when we asked to be a part, that's when our history, our story started to disappear. So I don't know if this is a good opportunity for us to really learn from ourselves and teach our children and teach our peers, hey, this is our story. This isn't what, how they telling you at school. I think this could be a good opportunity for us to really get in there and dig deep on our own story. Because Black history is American history. No matter which way you flip it, or if you want to remove it or anything, it's American history. So that's how I feel about it.
JD, I'm gonna go down there to you, because I hear you up there with some and you're a Southern boy that grew up in Mississippi, and we've talked a lot about this when we did a lot of community service when we were in El Paso together. The Black History parades and stuff down there, they are good then, but also they have a lot of organizations down there that actually do Black history, Black culture throughout the year. So what are your thoughts on critical race theory and them taking it out the schools?
I have to say, like Jazz said, segregation. It's good and it's bad, because you have some kids that grow up, they don't even want to learn, or they don't have parents that's trying to teach their kids about our own history. So, they get that little piece from the school. They come home and ask questions. I'm with it, because you're right. It makes us be more in control to teach our own kids about our own history. We shouldn't have to go to nobody else. It should start at your house. Rather from an auntie, uncle, grandmother, brother, sister, cousin, somebody in your family know the history of where you come from. So they should be teaching it to the younger generation.
Yeah. So
that's how
for me, I'm gonna answer that before I go down to Sterling. And that's, to me, and this is just my opinion, it don't matter to me, because my kids, and it's okay for them to take it out. I was military, so my kids they didn't go to Title I schools, where I went to school at, where it's 99.9% Black. The teachers are 99.9% Black. So a lot of things that we were fed then, in the intake of our history then, my kids did not receive that at the schools they went to. My daughter in North Pole, Alaska, the little boy called her the N-word. And I'm telling you, I went up to the school. He was literally, you couldn't even be mad at him. He was oblivious to what was really, he was oblivious. It was only three or four Black kids in the school, period. And this was at North Pole Junior High. So he didn't see anything that he did wrong. So at that time, we was taught at home. So I think that was a great opportunity for me to start back investing in my child because I'm gonna live in this neighborhood because I want you to go to this school. But the little Black history that they teach in the school is not in depth. Okay, they're gonna teach about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and what else? If you in Arkansas, you're gonna hear about the Little Rock Nine. But that's only if you in Arkansas. My son didn't know anything about it when he had to do a book report in El Paso, Texas, and he was going to Hernando Middle School. So Sterling, what are your thoughts on critical race theory, them leaving it in the school, taking it out? And I also want to add something on to your question. How do you think parents should react or could react to help their children?
Uh, just from my background, I agree with everybody's point of views when it comes to this. Growing up in Philadelphia, I grew up in a Black community. I didn't really see white people until I got to high school. We had 2 white kids in the neighborhood who was adopted by Black parents, so we didn't see them as white kids. We see them as Black kids, because that's what they was around. Far as taking out of the schools, I don't think it's a bad thing taking out of schools because a lot of these things that kids are doing now are being taught. Nobody is born racist. And I didn't experience racism until I came in the military when I was called a nigger at basic training by a white guy that's from South Dakota because he never seen Black people before. And, that's what he's seen Black people as, is just a nigger. So I really don't have an issue with taking out of school. I just feel as parents, we still got to educate ourselves as well because we don't have all the answers when it comes to Black history. And the same thing Jazz said is Black history is not just one month. It's all year long. It's 365 days a year. And you should be proud about being Black as well. It shouldn't just be I'm Black on this day or I'm Black on this month. Every day you walk out that house, you should walk up with your head high, saying I am a Black person in America and I can get through anything because it's a struggle. And the thing about the Black race is that we the most feared race. So we come together as one. America wouldn't know what to do with us. We so powerful. We got so much knowledge is that we afraid to share that knowledge with a lot of people because we don't want somebody to get ahead of us. We shouldn't be like that as Black people because there are a lot of Black banks out there and a lot of Black organizations that can help these young kids out and have them fully understand what Black history is. Because like I said, it wasn't an everyday thing in my household coming up in the city of Philadelphia because Black is Black, and I had aunts that was pro-Black, walk around with the African garbs and, you shouldn't join the military because it's a white man's army, et cetera, et cetera. But, I didn't experience racism. I don't have no issue with it being taken out of school because I have 2 young Black boys, one that's mixed, half Mexican, half Black, that's fully Black. And I tell them every day is that you're Black. I don't see anything else besides you being a young Black boy, and every day you walk out that house, you gotta be mindful that people are gonna hate you. People not gonna like how you look, and they don't even know you. But at the end of the day, because of the color of your skin, you're gonna have issues. So that's really all I gotta say about that.
Oh, look, you summed it up a whole lot. I heard you say that you didn't experience racism, basically until you joined the military. The school I went to was it was all Black. All the schools. I don't know any school that. Of course, we had Caucasian teachers there, but I really went around a whole bunch of Caucasians. I actually joined the military. Cam, for you, Sterling said something about we don't want to share our knowledge. And when we say we, if the shoe fit, wear. If it's not you, don't worry about it. Don't get your feathers ruffled. We don't want to share our knowledge because we don't want someone to get ahead of us. And director, I'm gonna send you this clip that I didn't send, and hopefully we can insert it in here. Do you think that's true that we actually step on each other in our communities? Because I don't want Jasmine to take off. So even though I can help her in this area, I'm not going to give her that basic knowledge for her to get ahead because I want to get ahead of her first and then give her the knowledge. But I'm going to charge her for that consultation fee though. So what do you think about us not sharing knowledge with each other?
Well, the thing about it is a lot of black people we already have, and y'all know we have that crab in a barrel mentality. Always when we only make up 13% of the population in the United States, and then we're already wanting to one up one another. The thing about it is like you'll get a lot of people that feel like, okay, we want you to do well, but I just don't want you to do better than me. So they'll feel like that they want to withhold information, not tell you not tell you. But the thing about it is, I'm a firm believer that what God has for me is going to be for me. So anybody that knows me, if it's anything that I can help another black man and black woman, I'm sharing it because, like I said, I just know what's for me. Nobody can take that away. And I wish if we just changed our mentality to realize that if we all work together, you know what I'm saying? We all can prosper. Little Boosie, and he said one time, some of us gonna stun out and some of us not. It's just gonna be what it is. Everybody can't be the leader. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about it is, we have to be, man, we have to like just get behind each other and try to see what we can do to become one of accord. You're gonna have some people that's millionaires, you're gonna have some people that's six figures, and you're gonna have some people that's below six figures. But what you have to realize, you have that confidence in yourself to realize that, it's about comparison. I don't have to like me and Sterling. Sterling is like a brother to me, and I don't mind telling him, hey, Sterling, man, that suit you got on is nice. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm confident in camera. So I think a lot of those problems come is we have the lack of confidence and love for ourselves because you're constantly in comparison with another black man or another black woman. So I think when we start talking about like the self-love and things of that nature, I think that's where we need to start digging in deep from, because when you love yourself and you are confident in yourself, then what you got, Kenya, what you got, Sterling, what you got, Jazz, it don't mean nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where the root of the problem is.
Agreed.
Okay. Jazz. We could talk racism. We talk about how we experience it, and sometimes we do try to put all of the other races in one category. Oh, they hate on me. They don't like me because I'm black. And I'm gonna tell y'all a story about when I first joined the military. And I really don't. For me, I don't think I ever experienced racism directly towards me or anything like that. But I joined the military, and everybody know if you worked it when you joined when I joined. You worked in the orderly room, and everybody in the orderly room was real important. And the orderly room is like the administration place where all your stuff come to, and this person is in charge of sending your stuff up and making sure you get it back. So I worked in the orderly room. I was a pack clerk, so I was super important, y'all. I'm telling y'all, don't tell me I wasn't. But it was this guy that worked at the S1, and the S1 is like the higher headquarters where you send your paperwork to. I don't think I should say his name, so I'm probably not going to say his name because I don't know where he at in his life right now. I used to send my stuff up there, y'all, and he used to kick it back all the time. Send it back. You need to make this correction. You need to make this correction. This was a Caucasian white male, right? He was a white male. So, of course, you get in your bubble and you start having these water cooler conversations with your friends that all of us are pretty much ignorant at this point because everybody's against us. We're 18, 19 years old, so everybody's against us. And he's racist. He just don't like you. He only do the black people like that. This is what they were saying. So in my mind, I was like, yeah, that's how it was, y'all. We was on Camp Spiker in Iraq. Stuff is getting kicked back. I went to the DFAC. The DFAC is the cafeteria, y'all. Guess who I see in there? Him. With his wife, who is black. So I ended up changing. And then at that time, I'm like 19 years old. I had to go back and do a self-assessment. And I think I called my grandma about it. And she was saying, well, not everybody is racist. My paperwork was wrong. That's why he was sending it back. It didn't have nothing to do with me being a female. It didn't have nothing to do with me being black whatsoever. So what do y'all think when we go onto these jobs and they automatically say, watch out for this person. This person is racist. This person is that. Even though it does exist, but do it exist as much as we think, or when we're not doing what we're supposed to do, it's easier to cast the blame on someone else? And JD, I want you to answer that question.
It is. We create the environment ourselves. Like Kim said, it don't matter who's around me or what they doing, or anybody doing. You got to do it for yourself. When you say you go on these jobs and this cash, being retired veteran, it was in the military. I seen it myself. I even seen our own African American men and women would leave us out there as Black people. We would leave each other out there and jump on the other team just to make themselves look good.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, it starts with you. When you go onto these jobs and somebody tell you about this person, that person, I'm going to tell you like anybody else will tell you. Open that book up and read it for yourself. Because if you listen to this person and that person, they trying to get you out of position. Because they already intimidated that you just came on the job. So you have to read for yourself. You got to learn that person for yourself. And you will know if they racism or they don't care for Black people or whoever they don't care for. You just got to read that person. You got to get to know that person. For me.
Okay, Jazz, I heard interesting. What you thinking? Because I know you got something to say.
I agree. I think like how Sterling said earlier, he's never really been around white people. Some white people have never been around Black people, and these are our co-workers, these are people we're working with. So, you know, they're just as clueless as some of us are going into an environment where there are more white people. So I think that, you know, there is a grace there a little bit, and then kind of piggyback off of what Socrates said, you have to get to know people for yourself. I think you'll know when people are kind of being racist or have some type of racism towards you, but just automatically assuming some things, because on my workplace, I'm just going to be honest, when I first moved here to Texas and I was doing some VA work, the Caucasian lady looked out for me more than the Black lady. And I was just like, what? We're supposed to be sisters, you know. I was just kind of expecting more from her. And then a lot of other stuff had came out. And I was just like, wow. Wow. But the white lady, she would kind of stay on top of me. Hey, you need to do this. You need to do that. You need to do this. And the other lady, the Black lady, my supervisor, it's like she was kind of waiting on me to mess up to kind of get me out of there. But that white lady, I'm like, why is she staying on me? But at the same time, it was just like, it was very weird to me. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. So we have to understand that as well. And all white people are, or just even other races, like Sterling said, some of them aren't used to being around Black people. So it could be an intimidation for them. It could be that they don't want to say the wrong thing because they understand that there might be something going on with Black people and there's racism, but they don't know where they cross the line at either. So I think there's some type of grace that you give some people. But I mean, once you see it, you check it at the door. You know, like some stuff you have to teach people, hey, don't say that to me. We don't talk like that. We don't do that. So that's what I kind of feel about it.
Yeah, I'll say something about don't touch my hair. Jasmine, I had a hot pin up bun not too long ago. I don't know if y'all seen it or not, but the lady touched my hair. And at first I was gonna get offended, but I guess I don't know why she touched my hair, y'all.
Maybe it was a fascination.
And she didn't
like
say
I said, some people they haven't been around Black people. You know, I come in there 1 week short looking like Halle Berry. Next week I come in there looking like, a whole horse.
Like
I don't know.
I would say this.
Something about the lady that you were working. Go ahead, JD.
I was just going to say, when you said don't touch your hair, and I know Cam know this, and Jazz, Kenya, you might have heard it too, but back in the day when we came up, your older heads told you if they can't use your comb, you can't bring them home. And I know for Cam heard it a lot from where he from, being from the Southern. Just by Kenya said, don't touch my hair, it made me think of that just that quick. You see how we categorize ourselves into a point where we don't want other people to touch us. And they just, and like she said, they fascinated by your hair, Kenya. You know what I'm saying? Jazz said you switch it up, and people don't know how to take you. Sterling said it up earlier. They just don't. If we come together, we are so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also about perspective. You don't look at how much we're admired. Who do you think is the most copied people out there?
Black women.
You know, that's what I'm saying. So the thing about it, you kind of got to look at it from that perspective. But man, it was just like crazy. I want to share a story with y'all about me. You know, I'm from I was born in Jasper, Alabama, but I was raised in a small town called Carbon Hill, Alabama. And the school that I went to was predominant. I probably had about, when I was in middle school and high school, we probably had about 7, 8 blacks in the whole school. So when I'll never forget, when I was in 5th grade, I had a teacher named Miss Kilpatrick. I'll never forget. And I was the only black in my class, and it was these 3 white kids that they were always like trying to mess with me. And let me tell you how bad it was. Miss Kilpatrick, when the bell rang to go to a new class, she would come up to me and say, Cameron, I'm going to hold them in. I want you to go to your class. I want you to go to your class and go straight to your class, because she knew they were going to try to jump on me in the hallway. So I would just, and I always just remember that. But also when I was 7 years old, I'll never forget being on the side of the highway, and I saw a real like Ku Klux Klan march. And then later that night, I found out that one of the local black men in our neighborhood had got shot in the face by a shotgun because he was married to a white woman. And if you dig on YouTube far enough, I ain't gonna really put the name out there or anything like that. You can actually find that story. So I just, man, it just, when I look at it from everything, it just gives me a different perspective on how I really looked at them, because a lot of time when I came up, I was angry, I didn't want anything to do with them. And then, I came from my mom raised 3 boys on her own. My father wasn't there in my life. My grandfather is who I attached to, what I'm saying? And he was a man born in 1920 from Mississippi. So he didn't, but he also instilled in me to say, I'm not going to let you make excuses. He said, if you want something, you need to go get it. He wouldn't allow me to use that I'm black, that you trying to let the white man keep you down or anything. He said, if you want something, you work hard and you go out there and get it. So I always, even though I experienced a lot of racism, I always said, you know what, if I want something, can't nobody stop me but me. You know what I'm saying? So I dug dirt deep in the dirt and grinded. But when I really look at the totality throughout my life, I've had more of my own people do me wrong than I have white people. You know what I'm saying? But in reference to talk about the critical race theory, I feel that a lot of times they want to pull it out of the schools because they don't want the other generations to hear about really how bad they were, to us. You know what I'm saying? So it's about that accountability factor. But I do agree with a lot of y'all. I really don't care if they pull it out or pull it in, you know what I'm saying? Because when it really boils down to it, it seems like we always freaking asking for something. You know what I'm saying? Instead of uniting together and going out there and grinding and say, you know what? Why we always got our freaking hand out to somebody that has showed us they don't give a dang about us. But you always freaking beg. So if we're going to sit there and continue, you got over 400 plus years of historical data on how you've been treated. You know what I'm saying? So when are we going to look at ourselves in the mirror, be accountable for our own, use our own resources and come together and make our own stuff? Then you can have your own stores, your own schools, your own banks, your own hospitals. You know what I'm saying? But we constantly in a state where we got to freaking beg.
Do you think that sometimes we will sabotage ourselves? And you're from Alabama, and I had to look some stuff up because I said I need to find something. But I actually was watching when I was getting my hair done, it was a documentary on, and I was watching, and then I learned about Elmore Bowling. He was lynched in 1947 in Lowndes, Alabama. And pretty much from what the stories say and the history that I read on it, and I did a lot of digging, they were saying because he was too much of a successful black man.
Yeah, he was being positive. He was the true epitome. He was the true epitome of started from the bottom. Now we're here. You know what I'm saying? This dude, he pretty much got it out the mud, you know, and grew up, you know, and worked his way up to being successful. But made it so bad. But you know what went bad, Kenya, is the white people wanted to use his product and his businesses instead of using white owned, and then that's where it went left. He worked himself up and had a product that was so good, they own white people wanted to use him instead of using white owned, especially in a time where racism is at its height. And so they was like, we got to go ahead and eliminate him. But yeah, y'all need to check that story out, man, because he is one of the true definitions of I got it out the mud. You know what I'm saying?
That's like Black Wall Street.
So Sterling, let me ask you this.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jazz.
I was just piggybacking off of what Cam was saying. That's just like Black Wall Street. It's a African American museum here in Dallas. It's actually free. It's on the fairgrounds, and me and my kids went to go visit it just to, you know, get a little history under our belt. Dallas had their own community, kind of similar to Black Wall Street. And of course, they went and they cleared it out. I think, like they said, they know that we're powerful people and we are so much better together. Why would, you know, they're gonna have to come in and destroy it. Look at like Lake Lanier in Georgia, how they buried that underwater. And that's only one that we constantly talk about. Imagine the other ones where people were actually up and thriving, had their businesses and thriving and doing all these things. And like Kim said, we're always asking for something when we already have the resources to do it for ourselves. And now I feel like we've gotten to the point where they know we're going to ask. They're going to give us a pinch because they don't want us to join with each other. It's always just that little pinch to say, here you go, shut up, you can have that, and go on about your day. So we won't come back and join together. And now here we are. Well, they gave us this and we're content with just that. But then when things fall apart again, here we back in line asking for another piece of the pie when we are capable of doing it ourselves.
So Sterling, do you think sometimes with our history, because shame on authentic years, we should be talking about this throughout the year. At least throughout our episodes, you know, of our history. We should put that somewhere in there. You know what I'm saying? Do you think we sabotage ourselves when we don't continuously educate ourselves and each other so we can grow and be better? And then when something happens, it's like, whoa, me. How can we move forward to actually bring our history together and put it out to our young children? So I asked you two questions at one. Do you think we sabotage ourselves when it comes time to us progressing in life?
Yeah, we do sabotage ourselves. And everybody been saying it on the podcast this morning. It's the education piece. Education is a continuing thing, and growth is a continuing process on a daily basis. Black folks tend to, you know, not read what's black and white. A lot of us go off of what we hear and what we see. We have to sometimes go back in and read those old books, you know, that talks about Black history. And same thing Jazz said about, you know, Black Wall Street. There's a lot of places here in the States that actually have like a Black market in some of these inner cities where it's just nothing but Black businesses. But the issue stems a lot from social media. And I hate going back to social media, but social media kills a lot of the Black power and what we stand for. Because, you know, just for instance, Black spin. A lot of us, you know, want to spend money on Gucci, want to spend money on Louis Vuitton and etc. But at the end of the day, they really don't want us. They really don't want our money, you know. But we sit there and see on social media, we only gonna be accepted if we are wearing certain things. So we do sabotage ourselves by not educating ourselves and not going back and reading what's in black and white and not going off of what's actually told to us. That's the same thing in the military. A lot of times they tell us, hey, read what's in the regulation, not just go off of what somebody tell you. So I think that's one part of us sabotaging us as Black folks. And what was your other question? I forgot your other question.
I don't forget my other question too, because I took a note down on something else.
Can I ask Sterling a question, and I feel he can elaborate on this because he had firsthand. Yes. Sterling, can you talk to us about, because you know, if you don't mind me saying, you were a former employee of Neiman and Marcus. You told me you worked at Neiman and Marcus.
Yeah.
And then there came out some things about how he only wanted people that make a certain amount of money, that didn't worry about money, or I don't know all the specifics, but I know you do. So can you, do you mind elaborating a little bit on that, knowing that you was a former employee of Neiman and Marcus before you joined the Army and stuff? Can you touch bases on that? I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people that's in the fashion world, you know, Neiman Marcus is one of the top sellers when it comes to Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Ferragamo, and so forth. So I worked there for 2 years before I joined the military. And, you know, being there was a status. It was like, okay, if you worked at Neiman Marcus, you was a part of something. And I would say I never experienced any type of racism. I seen all types of races, all types of cultures spend their money in Neiman Marcus. And it makes me sit back and think also that my mom spent almost 15 plus years inside of that company, and knowing that the owner really didn't want us there, you know. So it's kind of like, you know, we was kind of used, but at the same time, we didn't know at that time. And I will say, I don't have nothing bad to say about Neiman Marcus because they never treated me bad. But I will say that I won't sit up there and give, you know, Neiman Marcus my money like I used to. Because when I worked there, I was buying stuff all the time because, you know, they gave us those discounts. You know, employees got, you know, 35% discounts on top of whatever the store was giving a discount for. So I was stuck in that mindset of, you know, you had to wear certain things to be accepted, or wear certain things to be part of a group like that working at Neiman Marcus. So, you know, it was experience, but I wouldn't, you know, invest in Neiman Marcus no more. I wouldn't give them my money really like that. I would go in there and buy like cologne or something, but for like how I used to spend my money at Neiman's, I wouldn't do it no more.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Kenya. I want to talk
said,
to us about that.
you know what? I don't know, you good, because sometimes we say we do have to invest in ourselves. Shout out to my boy DeAndre. This is clothing line. You know, we could hit him up. You know, he's doing some great things. Sterling, you said something about.
Sorry to cut you off. I said sorry to cut you off. Just to add to that, you know, I'd rather spend my money, you know, on something custom. You know, something that I know nobody else is going to have. I'd rather spend my money on great quality. Yeah, I'm not just going to say it has to be, you know, a black business that has great quality, because there are a lot of white small companies, white small businesses out there that got great quality as well. The issue that I had with a lot of these black upcoming businesses that they don't have great customer service. You got to have great customer service.
Let's talk about it.
You don't have great customer service. Don't matter how good your product is.
Baby.
Let's talk about it. Do we do something? Do we? Yeah, I go into a lot of, and when you do try to support your own, the customer service you be like, what in the world? And you're mad because I don't come back, and you tell me I don't support you. So that's a lot that has to do with us not supporting each other because of the way we treat people when they come into our establishment. The way we handle people, the way we handle situations when there's a dispute about a product. Because when you go to dealers and you take your stuff back to dealers because it's a rip in there, dealers don't be asking you, did you do this on purpose? They either gonna say, do you got your card present that you purchased this with? If you don't have your card, would you like to take a gift card and you could use it later on? I shopped at places. It wasn't like that when I shipped it. Maybe it would. It probably got like this in the mail. Anything could have possibly happened, but our customer service does suck sometimes. Let's talk about this fake news. Because Sterling, you said social media, and we always kind of go back to social media because that's what's going on nowadays. Kids don't go to the library anymore. And
is there a library anymore?
Yes.
Social. It's a library. I be going. Look, I be going, especially when you need when you need something, you want to have the truth and the facts, and that's where I'm going with that, JD. A lot of times I could Google something on Google. It could be anything. You're gonna have all these different platforms that come up. What is the actual truth of those platforms? You know, so how do we actually get our kids, because they're on social media. How do we teach them something? Because I could tell them, hey, Google the Little Rock Nine. What story is going to actually come up? Is the story that really happened comes up, or do all the, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened? How do we teach our kids that, yeah, social media is going now, but now we have a lot of fake news. So what would we do to teach our kids? Anybody, somebody.
Well, first of all, I think we got to start by, first of all, educating ourselves and make sure that if we don't, if we don't educate our kids, the world gonna educate them for us. You know what I'm saying? So you as parents or as mentors in these kids' life, you got to go out there, dig deep, do the research, get the facts, and then disseminate that information down to your kids or down to your mentees and things of that nature. So I think it really starts, like I said, because if you cut off the head, the body gonna fall. So first of all, the head needs to be knowledgeable first and educate, make sure you're educated so you can properly disseminate that information. And then after that information is disseminated, then that kid can go out and do further research or ask further questions and things of that nature. But I think that's where it starts. I don't know if you guys agree.
I would say,
okay, Jazz, you were finna...
Go ahead, Jazz. Go ahead. You got it, Jazz.
Oh no, I agree with Cam. And then I think it's also important, if I'm telling my kids to always read a book and they never seen me pick up a book, the math not mathing. We have to be the example for our children. We can't sit up here and say, oh, because you hear it a lot. Don't do what I do. Be better than me. Well, set that example for your children. We're not actually just setting the example. I think we said this last week when we were talking about mentorship for young girls. Some of the moms are on there twerking and dancing, doing the TikTok dances with the children. I mean, yeah, you can have fun, but we got to also remember this is our future. These kids are our future. We have to, make sure we're investing in it. Kids can be an investment. They're an investment. You got to invest into your children. So I think that's very important.
So just to add to what Jazz was saying, I don't know if y'all know a lot about TikTok, right? But if you dig deep into TikTok, the United States is the only country that don't have restrictions on TikTok. If you go and dig deep into TikTok, look at the China, the Asian countries, TikTok has restrictions where it only shows educational things, math, history, and stuff like that. So, like I said, this right here is the new parent. I mean, some may agree, some may not agree, but this right here is the new parent when it comes to kids. This is teaching your kids, what to do right and what to do, wrong also. So I think as parents, we got to get back into that, accountability stage, and also get back into, giving that time back to your kids. Because I know a lot of parents out here will say, hey, go to your room, and those kids won't get on Fortnite, get on their cell phones, and that parent only going to check on them when it's time to eat or when it's time to go to bed. So I think we need to get back into that one-on-one and not just depend on the teachers in the schools to teach our kids what's right.
Agree.
Yes, I most definitely agree.
I would say this real quick.
Ahead,
we all on here, we all know what's going on in Mississippi about them with the segregation, trying to do 2 different courts, one for the Caucasians, one for the black. Y'all have talked about it all day long on this podcast today on the show. Y'all have really mentioned it without even mentioning it. And I say that to say this. We, as black people, we sabotage ourselves. It's out in the media that, oh, they doing Mississippi wrong. We doing this wrong. And when you dig deep into it, it was always on the table. Us as black people, we was distracted. Jazz said earlier, they give you a pinch. I'm going to say 2 topics that we kept focusing on, that we missed out on why they slid it straight through. And it went straight through. We were so in an uproar about Deion Sanders leaving Mrs. Jackson State. We weren't paying attention to what they was asking. Should this be segregated? We was talking about at one point about how Brent Favre took the money and misused the fund from Mississippi and build a sports center, something at USM. But the whole time, we had African Americans, and some of the people say that didn't know. I'm gonna be honest. You can't tell somebody that's been in the military for 21 years that you in a position that this didn't come across your desk or you did not know about the situation. You chose to believe what's going on in social media and the hype that's going on, that we sabotage ourselves. The biggest thing about Mississippi right now, we got a high rate of killing, and we are and the two top leaders are beefing with each other. I'm not a politician, but it's politics. I can't be a politician and I'm only proactive towards Black Lives Matter, and then I turn around and don't talk about what's going on in other communities and other races or what they got going on. And it's vice versa. And I ask this question, we're so quick to say Black Lives Matter. Who do they matter to? Because obviously they don't matter to us enough to educate ourselves, nor to work together to stop what's going on and to stop little small bills sliding through the cracks and getting to places where they're talking to taking us back 400 years of segregation, and we sitting here still screaming Black Lives Matter. But again, who do they matter to?
I never. Sorry, I mean, some people may take this the wrong way, but I never believed in Black Lives Matter. I'll be honest.
I never supported it.
I never supported it.
So I know I'm gonna get mad. Y'all gonna be mad at me and Sterling next week, but
I mean,
I'm not.
The reason I didn't support it because we kill each other on a daily basis, and we don't march for that. We only march when a white person, kills a black person, and that's the same thing with those. I don't want to go back on those cops, beating up that black dude, and it was black cops also. And I didn't see no march for that either. You know what I'm saying? It just said, hey, these cops are being, charged with this, but at the same time, being from a D9 Greek organization, 3 of those brothers was Omega Psi Phi. And I'm not saying nothing against Omega Psi Phi because I've met a lot of great people from Omega Psi Phi. But that just lets you know right there is that it's not white folks. It's us.
You're exactly right, Sterling. Because if you really look at it, and I don't like to use the term all, but certain white people been doing what they've been doing since the 1600s. You know what I'm saying? You got years of historical data on it. But when does the accountability come to be like, and not just to point out, when does the accountability come to what's going on in Chicago for us? When the accountability, what's going on down in New Orleans for us? What about the little daughters or whatever that got hit the stray bullets? Nobody care. They only want to worry about the big end topics and things of that nature. But it's so much. And what they don't realize is the same people we begging for is just looking at, they just laughing at us. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to sit back, get them a little pinch, but they're going to contribute to their own demise. And that's just what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? But we have to look at first. We just have to look at the man in the mirror. A lot of our own issues come from our own self because we are more prosperous now than we have ever been since being brought over to this nation. You know what I'm saying? We have the most resources available to us. You know what I'm saying? But when you got the one up, people trying to one up one another instead of just saying what was it about? I think it was last year when we had as a black people like a $2 trillion spending power. So if those resources were allocated for the best interests of black people, what could we have accomplished for ourselves? But people want to go off, do their own things, and not realizing that we're a small part of this population. But so until we change mentality, we're always going to have those issues.
It's like now, everybody here of age now, we really consider to be the old heads because a lot of these young kids now not making it past the age of 17, 18. Mm-hmm. So it's like we are the ones that's out here with the historic information about what's right and what's wrong because a lot of these kids are not making it past their teenage years. So it's up to us as 40-some-year-old people, 50-some-year-old people to continue that, that mindset of what's right. Because you go back to Philly right now. I would never go back to Philly and hang out. Not in my neighborhood. I'll drive through. Yeah. But if I drive through, I'm not accepted. Even though I grew up in that neighborhood, I'm not accepted there because at the end of the day, my era has faded out. My era of we hand fighting and then we dapping up the next day, it's gone. You know, once you have a problem with somebody in your neighborhood, you get killed now. And at the same time, when I grew up, it was like 50th Street, 49th Street, we all was one. So when we went outside that neighborhood, we stuck together, you know. But now you fight your next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like I said, we are the old heads. I'm not trying to keep going, but we are the old heads now. So
Look, we pretty old, but JD, I want to ask you this, and I want to ask because this is a tape show, so I want the audience, when y'all do see this, like, subscribe, share it to Bold and Driven. Follow us at Authentic Ears. You know we here. So with them divine with in this House Bill 1020, do you think that is, and we hit it a little bit last week, do you think that's another modern day Jim Crow? Because we're saying, oh, you're splitting the courts for black and white. That's what we're saying. But is that truly what is actually happening down there? Because if the last census that I looked up, 83% of Jackson is black. So do you think that that is truly what's happening? And who is going to be appointed if this bill passed to serve as on the benches in that actual county?
I'm not saying it's a modern day Jim Crow. Jim Crow in Mississippi has always been Jim Crow. Jim Crow is not modern. It's not nothing. Basically, just like we said on this show today, we sabotage ourselves. Yes, Jackson, Mississippi is 83% black. But Sterling just said it's not the same, and we are the old head. So with that bill being pushed forward, that bill is going to cost Mississippi $1.6 million a year if it goes through. And they already got places, they already got it established where, to the point, they know who they're going to put in charge and how it's going to be broke down. The crazy thing with it, I'm gonna say this, and I didn't blast it, but I'm gonna say this. I was out last night, just to kind of hope this answer your question, Kenya, and everyone on here. I was out last night, didn't do nothing wrong, stopped, got some gas, pulled off. I saw the police. Guess what? I got pulled over. The cop asked me for my license, registration, asked me where was I going. I'm just home visiting. Oh, okay. Another cop pulled up and was like, oh, that's a Texas tag. Now I can hear the conversation. I'm not naive to it, been through it all my life. I'm not finna sweat, not gonna change. Ask him, do we got another form of ID? So of course, as me, I gave him my military retirement. I gave it to him. By the time the third guy pulled up, he said, hey, what y'all stopping for? Oh, he got out-of-state tag. I laugh because that's your excuse to stop. But I come to find out the two policemen that pulled me over, they've been on the force only a year. You got this bill going on, and they trying to get their quote up, so they stop a car and see an African man, they pull me over because I got out-of-state tags. So if we don't start educating ourselves, getting out and teaching our youth, these bills not only just gonna pass in Mississippi, start spreading over to states to state.
Yeah, and then Mississippi is like one of the poorest states, right?
It is the poorest state.
It is.
Yeah, the education.
Everything.
If I'm not mistaken, the water is actually worse than Flint.
And that's the thing, Jazz. And I'm gonna tell y'all, honestly, to me, and this is just my opinion, what I done read and seen, when they said they was gonna give the money to Mississippi to build up and help out, the Senate said they was gonna give the money to Mississippi to fix the water problem. Even when Deion Sanders was here saying, come together and fix the water problem. All of a sudden, this bill came up because, like you said, they gonna give us a pinch, but everybody want a part of that money. You start talking $64 million. Now everybody that came out the woodworks, they got something to say. They also got these laws and bills. All of a sudden, they appearing, they showing up. So you're right. It's about
But
money.
JD,
It's
I'm gonna
about
cut you off.
bitches.
Are they really, JD? I'm gonna cut you off. Are they really appearing, or have they always been there and we haven't been reading and we haven't been actually paying attention to what's going on in our states, and what bills are being passed, what we're voting on, the people that we're voting for, whether you Democrat or Republican, have they always been there? And we saying that they appear because we didn't read?
No, we're saying that. Well, we're for us that didn't know or didn't see it, weren't paying no attention. I say the word appearing, but you're right, Ken. It's been there the whole time. We just didn't sit down and read that book. We just were so worried about, oh, I want that money, because we started thinking about self. Some of our politicians in Mississippi, they was thinking about ourselves. I seen, if you YouTube about this bill, you got 2 African Americans that sat on the panel and everybody calling them out their name. But I guarantee you, they're not the only 2 African Americans that knew about this bill the whole time. Even my mother, she was just watching the news. She said, baby, that bill been going on for a long time. But they just took the opportunity because we was worried about what was going on at the HBCU, and we was worried about what was going to be the status of Jackson State. And guess what they did? In the water situation, they slid it right on through to start the segregation again.
Oh, hey, that's a mouthful, y'all. This is Authentic Ears. We're gonna be talking about it. You know, we have to come together as a people to actually start making changes for ourselves. Black history shouldn't be just 1 month. Jasmine say it all the time. Shame on me.
Yes,
My
I like
grandma
that.
would probably be like, you should be. Look, that's what she said. My grandma would probably be talking about La Kenya, because that's actually how you pronounce my name. What is you up there doing, talking about? What you talking about? And she'll be done called in. Well, Jasmine, what she gonna tell us? You're talking ignorant. When you going against each other and you're fighting with each other, she gonna tell you real fast. You talking ignorant. And we have to come together, you know, y'all. And we talk about it. We talk about relationships and stuff on Authentic Ears. It's been kind of like I've been driving force for the last couple of shows. But when we talk about that and then we sit here and talk about this, we are always bumping heads, and we're against each other. What can we do to make that strong community like we've had in the past? You know, when I was growing up, like now kids don't even walk home from school no more. Parents is paying thousands of dollars for after school child care because we can't let our kids walk home from school and they can't be latchkey kids. We walked home. And if Miss Pearl Ann didn't see you walk by that house at 450, she was calling to see where you at and did you go to school? Did you get picked up from school? Was you sick or whatever? But now we don't have that. It's kind of like every man for itself. They say it takes a village to raise children, and our history is going to take a lot of us to get back to reading and buying books. Jasmine, you said something very important. We tell our kids, go in there and read a book when they get in trouble, right? When they should be reading books every day. So I made it a point. My kids had a library card, and my son was real. I don't know if it's him or Lorraine. They was mad. I got this black African American encyclopedia, y'all. I found it. I think that people shipped it to me from Mississippi or Alabama, one of those states. But we have to start doing more for ourselves.
As Black people, we have to stop worrying about the acceptance and validation of white people. We need to come together, combine our resources, and look out for our own best interests. That is the only way we're going to be respected. We have to stop with all the foolery, stop with all the trying to crab in a barrel mentality and trying to one up one another, but just realize that we all we got. So let's pull our resources together. Stop worrying about who's going to be in charge and who not going to be in charge and this person going to have more of me and things of that nature. And just look out for our own best interests. Director, could you play the clip, please?
Have you ever felt?
You can't
Are you
handle
listening?
the truth.
Damn.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
We really got to stop caring what white people think about us. We got to get over respectability politics. I feel like at a certain point, coming out of the civil rights movement, we convinced ourselves that assimilation was the way to liberation. So we can be accepted by white folk, then we're going to be okay. We not going to ever get free trying to be accepted by white folk. Ever. Ever. So at some point, we got to really lean into being who we are at our core.
Hey, you guys, this is Authentic Ears. You on the pre-recorded line, but we coming back next week. We're going to come back with something stronger. Thank you, JD, for blessing us with your presence. We got to keep on talking about the social justice so we can get better. Hey, love you guys. Y'all tune in, like, subscribe, share. We're not going to be live, but we are going to be in the comments. I'm going to be in there a little bit because my son got a banquet. But we're going to be in the comments tonight. Tune in tomorrow to Mr. TMI. We here. We out. Thank you, guys. Love y'all.
Peace.
Peace.
Real raw, relevant, that's just it, yeah. I've been about 30 days since I was legit. Real raw, relevant, that's just it, yeah. I've been about 30 days since I was legit. Real raw, relevant, that's just it, yeah. I've been about 30 days since I was legit. Real raw, relevant, that's just it, yeah. I've been about 30 days since I was legit. Represent, that's legit. Ask your mama about it. Coldest story ever told. When the storm had hit my home, I was out there on the road, I ain't had nowhere to go. They used to turn their nose, and man, they didn't. I suppose this the life I chose. Every day, man, this is so.